he's got a lot of good information, man. He's very awake to like a lot of the esoteric and a lot of the New World Order, and he talks about the manosphere and all that. He's one of the few people that's awake to both the manosphere and the damn New World Order.
Well, we
Like
are
fully
live.
awake.
Yep, we are live, and as you can hear, Warren's here. That's right. So as I told you the other day, or was yesterday's video, that if things worked out, well, Warren and I would be up here today, and here we are. So, but you heard Warren talk, and go ahead and tell him what you were talking about and a little bit about this guy's work.
Oh yeah, I was just watching a video by LMNX. This is a little bit old. I just got back into watching his videos again. This was on June 28th, 2018, Psychological Warfare and Coping, a mini lecture on these subjects. And he's talking about how basically the short version of it is this. They're using feminism, which led to the LGTB movement, which is used to tear down genders so they can usher us into a genderless sort of society where there is no sex drive, there is no relationships, there is no nothing like that. There is no personalities, no will to resist. And this is where all this is gradually taking us. All that, of course, flows right into Zionism. I don't know if he really talks about connecting that to Zionism there or not. I'm not blaming all the Jews either.
No, well, that's a topic.
Just blaming the Jews.
Yeah, well, that's a topic right there. When you get on live streams on YouTube and you start talking in that area, this is when they like to censor you, cut out your live feeds, throw you off your fucking YouTube because you dare to open your mouth and tell the truth. But
oh yeah,
what you just said though about the genders, think about it this way. It's already in your face. We have women actually going wig toe, while we have men claiming to going their own way. So what we're seeing is men and women so divided they're starting to walk away from each other already.
Yeah.
So that sort of fits into what Warren just said, doesn't it? NWO planned all the way.
And I mean, that being said, most of the women who are going, quote, wig towel, we're going to fit into one of two categories, okay? Either they're women who got all their, social needs met in their teens and 20s, and they hit their 30s, and instead of settling down for a beta bucks, now they decide we're going to go wig towel. That's one version. The other ones are the ones that, that they're not even really going their own way still. I mean, they just start shacking up with other women. So, that's another thing you got to bear in mind too. As far as the dating scene in America, you're not just competing against men now. You're competing against other women now too. And see, the women don't have to meet the looks requirements that men do. The woman can be absolutely butt fucking fugly and still be able to get in. I mean,
Well, that's so true. A woman does not have to have looks or anything. She has her life pretty much handed to her. The only problem I see is the fact that social engineering is divided is so bad that even though the woman has her life handed to her, she's been so deluded she don't believe she does. She actually believes she's a victim and she has it harder than a guy in reality, when in reality she's had her life handed to her and she can't see it because of the programming. But what she's been programmed to do is self-destruct. While she's self-destruct, she destroys the man, destroys herself and her family.
It's crazy, man. Everybody, men and women alike, still believe this myth that the women are the ones being oppressed by big bad evil patriarchy. It's like, dude, how do you see that? How can you imagine? I mean, everywhere I look, I see equality plus chivalry, which equals misandry, which equals there's no benefit for men, all the benefits for women.
Exactly. But Warren, she's the victim.
I mean, the most protected class in all of society, who still has all the same rights as men, but is far more protected than men.
And has more rights than men, actually, in today's society.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's almost like an unspoken rule in today's society. I mean, I guess you technically, on a legal level, have a right, but I mean, on a social level, you don't. Like, like as a man, I mean, you're not even allowed to be a basic human being anymore. I mean, it's like if you show any sign of vulnerability at all, I mean, if you show any sign of distress at all, oh well, that's not a real man. That's what I said before, and here it comes down in a nutshell, man. That's why I don't understand all these people that want to code by saying, oh, well, the Republicans are on our side. Dude, neither side are on your side. And let me explain this, man. The difference between liberal feminism and trad cucks is this, man. Liberal feminists, all men are rapists, devil the patriarchy. The trad cuck. Real men don't need rights.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean...
Well, and that's so fucking sick because real men don't need rights. Well, real men don't need their gonads. Real men don't need a life. Matter of fact, a real man don't need food or water.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to be ridiculous, then let's just get damn right ridiculous, okay?
I mean, it really is, man. It's like you go out to the monastery, and it's like nowadays, and it's like everybody's on this Trump kick, man. It's like, look, I'm not gonna be like one of these stupid social justice warrior libtards. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, you gotta understand. Look, this is controlled opposition. This whole alt-right shit is controlled opposition, man. I mean, it's most obvious controlled opposition. I mean, it's so goddamn obvious. Ray Charles can see it. I mean.
Yeah.
It has to have people fall for shit. Because the majority of people still, too, they scoff at so-called quote-unquote conspiracy theories because, our government would never do anything wrong. I mean...
Well, our government's so perfect, All governments have always looked out for their people. Not. Government equals slavery.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I don't really know what the answer is. People are like, what's the answer or what's your solution? I don't know, man, to be honest with you. I mean, I want to find a solution, but the problem with it is quite honestly, people, man. I mean...
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, look at the reality. We have a little short guy, Warren's short. I come from a short family where my mom was only like 4'6" to 4'8" at the most. Okay, my dad was like 5'3". I'm only 5'6". Okay, I came from a background of short people. Warren comes from a background of short people. But I'll tell you what. Chris Morgan, the little man at bagel shop, that's why I did what I did yesterday. Hocus pocus, we fooled you again. He took a lot of money to put on an act, is what he done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm glad people see through it, but the sad thing is, Warren was telling me that Monday, Forever Alone Monday, our agent guy over there, he went right along with the narrative, like if it really happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there should tell you everything we've said. That right there screams it because we got lots of people coming up that saw right through that hocus pocus. They know it's bullshit just like I do.
But I hate to say this, Bill. There's a very small percentage of us within the manosphere are actually awake to the New World Order and actually understand that a lot of these things are being staged or being set up. Most people are still living within the, within their bubble, within the matrix, and they believe whatever's being fed to them.
Unfortunately, what's going to be fed to it. What's going to be fed to them at the end, right?
Yeah.
And they're not going to like what they're going to get fed. It's called complete enslavement or your own death because they decided you're undesirable and you need to die, and they decided their name is God.
Can you answer me this question, Bill? And I can't understand this for the life of me. And I see white and black TFLers or incels, whatever, doing this, man, and other callers. I don't understand why, if you are in this situation where you're a TFL guy, right, why you'd be concerned with being a nationalist or preserving your quote unquote race. They don't care about you. Why do you care about them?
I know. Well,
You know?
you got to think about it. Society looks at people, and they've designed a world that we live in where everything is about look, stats, and money. Look, stats, and money. Okay? And thinking about,
Mhm.
well, what's your most important thing that you got to look out for? Your selfish self. You've lost care completely. So let's see, we live in a decadent society that says, okay, well, Warren, sorry, guy, but you're not good enough looking and you're not tall enough and you don't make this much a year in monetary gain and I don't see anything I can use you for, so therefore I've decided and me and all of my butt buddies that you should be dead. So we're gonna push you out of our life because we're that evil and then we're gonna deny doing it and blame it on you.
Yeah, and how much of an idiot would you have to be to stop those people after they did that just because they have share one arbitrary, meaningless fucking trait with you?
Exactly. And then you're gonna want to go out there really and support their society and help them have their wonderful life while they demonize you and put you down.
Exactly. I don't get it. And then you see TFLers even pushing other TFLers under the bus over this shit. It's like, what, to solve a bunch of people who pushed you into TFL?
Yeah,
You want to squat down on your brother who's going through the same struggle you are to solve a bunch of people who pushed you into that struggle. That doesn't make any sense to me.
no, I mean, well, they're walking hand in hand with their enemy. I guess they think if they deny what's happening to them and they walk hand in hand with their enemy, somehow that's going to make the situation go away, Warren. And, if you deny
Yeah,
it and turn your head and look the other way, and you do your best to fit into the all high mind and that jar on the shelf. That's where your brain's at. You want to think like everybody else, right? You're going to do your best to fit into that. So this way, one day, Warren, you'll eventually be able to not have you'll be able to have your life, right, Warren?
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
You got it. They're living in a mirage, a dream. I mean, I guess, Warren, I know what it is. It's the American dream. Because after all,
Well,
it
that
is
too,
only a dream.
The incel culture itself is particularly toxic, man. And here's the problem with this, man. It truly discredits our struggle, man. That's the problem I have with incels. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again: is that the lion's share of them, a big percentage of them, are fucking steaming pile of hypocrites. They don't practice anything that they fucking preach. They got a maturity level of 12-year-olds. They say spastic, stupid shit just to get attention. You see this all over their fucking forums. I mean, they completely discredit us in every fucking way. Everything they complain about non-cells or whatnot doing to them, they turn right around and do to each other. They try to silence each other. They judge one each other. They blame each other for their own situation. I could go on and on and on and on and on.
That's correct, Warren. That's correct, Warren. We just had a guy that came right on in here and did the very same thing as the other day, and immediately right away, that's the mindset. What we got is probably a phony baloney mid-toller who's pissed off at us for talking about their problem, Warren, and they're in denial with their problem because they're afraid if somebody finds out that they have this problem, that they won't fit in, okay? When in reality, hundreds of millions of men are going through it, and yet you're going to sit there and have these guys that are going to act this way.
Of course. Of course. I don't even know. I'm not even on the page right now. I'll be able to check out and see.
It wouldn't do you any good. I already took them out, So unless they're an employee of YouTube, they won't be back anytime soon. And maybe they got another troll account. I don't mind. Because I can take them out fast and they can create it. So it don't bother me any.
Yeah.
It's just sad because everything that I tell you is actually going on. I don't come up here and sugarcoat stuff. Maybe that's why you hate me. Because I'm not saying what you
Yeah,
want to hear, and your little feelers are getting hurt, right?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I agree with a lot what this quote still guy is pretty much saying. I mean,
Yeah, this coach still
you
got. I
know,
mean, now the guy kicked out. Her name was Jeff Skies.
yeah.
You won't see him because I threw him out of here.
I know he says that other Asian culture women are not as high concern as Western feminist Marxist-dominated system countries are. Not yet. I mean, it's kind of like that with Hispanic women and Hispanic cultures in South America too, right now. But at least not yet, anyhow. The social condition right now is most strongest focused in first world, like predominantly like white nations. Well, I guess you could say for right now predominantly white nations. Another 20, 30 years, they'll probably be mostly brown. But like first world, like sort of more high tech nations, that's where a lot of the heavy indoctrination is going on. That's not to say that the rest of the world isn't indoctrinated too. It is fucking incel, TFL, whatever problem doesn't exist in other parts of the world too. It does.
Well,
That's another thing.
it is.
Yeah.
It's actually global. This is what people don't realize. Because along my journey of TFL incel, the years I've been doing it, I've known people from
Yeah.
China. I've known people from the United Kingdom. Okay, from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay, from
Mm-hmm.
all corners of the earth. We got Australia. We got all these different countries involved in this. You know, and when I look at the real sensation of all of this, you can clearly see NWO.
And here's something you got to bear in mind too, man. The more industrialization takes place in like a lot of these other outside countries, the more the Americanization process is going to take over there, right? So bear this in mind. If a guy has enough money, let's say he does go out there, he got to have a lot of money to pull that off. But let's say he got a lot of money, he goes out there to Southeast Asia to get a woman, right? Now he's defeated his own TFL problem, but he's created more TFL out there in that country because now the native men who are native to that country who are already struggling, yeah, now they have less options. Now they're going to be going for, because you got to think, well, what it is, and essentially is beta bucks with extra steps. I mean,
Well, yeah,
these guys that go over, the women know they got a lot of money. They have to have a lot of money to relocate, move to another country.
Well,
So,
but that's correct. But see, the bad thing about it is, when you go overseas to find a woman, because the women in America are so toxic, right?
yeah,
And all you're doing is you're going to roll right into the same situation because it's growing all over the world. And if you get an area
yeah.
like what Ron says, okay, there's 10 years behind us, okay, that's fine, but it's not fine because what about the guys over there? Oh, that's right, you don't care about other men, right? You don't care if you take their options away from them, huh? As long as you have them? Isn't that the mentality? We don't care about nobody but ourselves? Well,
I would
how
like
about
to address,
straightening out freaking your own goddamn society and getting men and women's heads out of there, you know what?
I would like to address something that Ron Fan said too. He says, USA is 10 years ahead of Europe and 50 years ahead of Asia in terms of agenda being pushed. That is true. But you also got to bear in mind that in the last 30 years alone, we witnessed more technological advancement that has been weaponized against us. I mean, but more technological advancement in the last 30 years than we have in all of the rest of history combined, right? So follow me here, right? As the industrialization process takes over, and China, of course, is becoming the new technological supergiant, right? As in the early stages of that happen, they're going to be the ones leading this new empire. And I could go into another talk about how they're going to get a hold of a lot of the technology over here. That's another discussion. But once that technology takes over, that social condition is going to speed up like hell in Asia too. Because just like it's sped up here in America, man. I mean, like I said, you got to look how fastly we've advanced technologically. These technologies are being weaponized into hard kill and soft kill weapons, and soft kill weapons are weapons against your mind control weapons.
Right.
The soft kill weapons is the reason why our society degenerated so fast in so short a time.
Yep,
You see what I'm saying?
it is. And then, of course, when you have no care, that's a gigantic loss for your society. Because when,
Yeah.
because the reality is, I'm still here fighting this regardless of been here all these years because I actually have care. It's when you lose the care, you don't care about what's going on around you because it's only all about you. And as long as you have your life together, you don't give a shit about anybody else. Well, can you imagine every great inventor has your mentality? You'd be walking down the street right now because you couldn't have a vehicle because they had your mentality. They only
Let me
built
tell
their
you the truth.
vehicles for themselves and their rich buddies.
Let me tell you the truth about a lot of these inventors, man. Most of them didn't really invent shit. They were a front man that was fed to the public. Most of these technologies, the elite already had it for at least anywhere from 50 to 100 years before they
Oh
introduced it to
yeah,
the
but you
public.
bet I
Benjamin
agree
Franklin
with
didn't
you.
discover electricity. He was a front man that they fed to the public.
I
The elite.
understand that, Warren, but the elite has their think tanks who done this for them, right? And they
Yeah.
had it years before we ever knew about it, right? Well, but see,
Yeah.
if the elite went with the mindset of you idiots out there, you wouldn't have what you have right now. They used it to spoil
Yeah.
you rotten, which of course also kept you distracted from what they were doing.
Yeah, you know.
That was the double-edged sword you didn't know about.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding, man. It's getting crazy out here, man. Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's like you try to find, like, is there anywhere, I mean, in society that doesn't have a gynocentric way of thinking, man? All sides of everywhere is gynocentric nowadays. We live in a day and age right now where if you're not gynocentric, if you don't worship, you're considered a misandrist.
Yes,
That's pretty much it.
and I agree
You
with
know?
Ron. Ron just said stealing women from another country is selfish alone, but race mixing is also selfish. Well, I agree with that because that's what it is. You go to another country to get a woman, you're taking a woman away from some other guy there that's not going to be living TFL because of you.
But my question is this: well, why should you be concerned about preserving a race of people that didn't want you?
Yeah.
I mean, if I meet a woman who's a good woman and who's going to be good to me, and I'm happy with her and she's happy with me, I don't care what color she is, bro. I'm not concerned with preserving a race of people that told me I wasn't good enough to be part of them in the first place. That should go to all TFLs, regardless if you're white, black, Asian, whatever. It's stupid to sit here and white knight for people that didn't want you.
Well, the sad thing is if men and women alike could just reach behind them and grab their head by the back of the hair and pull their head firmly out of their what,
Yeah.
because in reality, what needs to happen is care needs to come back on both sides. Selfishness needs to disappear. Now, we know that's not going to
Yeah.
happen, but the only way you're going to fix the mess we have is first through care and recognizing right and wrong.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
know,
I see what he means. It's selfish on the child who will grow up without an identity, especially in Europe. In America, people are already having. Well, here's the thing about that, man. The agenda, just like as they're trying to blend all the genders into a genderless society, they're doing the same thing with the races too, man. And that's why if you look at Israel, this is why I was going into Zionism earlier. I was talking to Zionism about it. Follow my logic here, okay? And I want to put this out there here, people, okay? Imagine this, okay? The white people are eugenic stock. The black people are eugenic stock. The Asian people are eugenic stock. The Hispanic people are another stock, and the Arabs and so on and so on, right? The main three, scientifically speaking, are white, black, and Asian, right? Okay, now, when you look at where Israel is on a map, it's symbolically located where Asia, Europe, and Africa all connect. So let me explain this to you, right? Imagine this. The Jews are another stock. The Jews can be white, black, brown, again, all parts of the world. God scattered the 12 tribes of Israel across the globe, right? That was the business plan, right?
yep.
Because religion is a business plan, it's the old metaphor, right? Okay, so when they view themselves as co-creators with God, so God scattered the 12 tribes of Israel across the globe. Well, if you look at the Jews can be any color and still be bloodline genetically Jewish. Right? I know people say there's a religion and then there's the bloodline. I'm talking about bloodline Jews. I'm not talking about people who are just religious converts. They can be bloodline Jews and be any color and be any part of the world. So what you got with the Jews is you got a petri dish stock, right? They're like the petri dish for collecting the best genes from all the other stocks, right? So then everybody gets to the point where they say, okay, let's all blame the Jews and go after the Jews. Well, then what's that going to do? That's going to promote Zionism to their own dismay. That's going to actually promote Zionism, because if these people worldwide are being scared that they have nowhere else to run to, where are they going to run to? They're going to run to Israel, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's kind of promoting Zionism. So I'm very much anti-Zionist. I'm not anti-Jewish, but you know, and of course, what they want is the Jewish stocks are the chosen stock for bringing in one hybrid gender and one hybrid race. One of the best genes from each race to create a perfect slave. That's the new man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see. I see Greg's telling you hi, so. Yeah, it's nice when I get Warren up here. It don't happen too often, but Warren and I actually talk on the phone quite often, but we don't come up live stream as often as we talk on the phone.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, it's not all right opinion, self-evident. I'm assuming. What did you mean? Like what, about Zionism, or talking to Ron fan? I mean, yeah, there are a lot of Jews in high places, but the reason why they're in high places is because we live inside of a slave system, and they're bred to be slaves. They're bred to be the most efficient slaves. That's why they get ahead, is because it's like if you do a rat experiment, right, and you start breeding specific categories of rats, and one specific group of rats is your key chosen little clique of rats in the genetic experiment, right, ahead of all the other ones. They're going to be the ones who are going to get the furthest in your experiment, because they're the ones that were bred to get ahead inside that experiment. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the system itself is the problem. I mean, you know, in certain types, I mean, it's not.
Well, you got,
like
you know,
every Jew.
When you move up the fucking pyramid, you move up to the people pulling the strings. You know, they purposely put the Jew in a spot they put him so everybody notices them. Okay? Then when you notice them, you start blaming them and their entire race. In reality, the real people pulling the strings aren't even Jews. They're fraudulent, wannabe, wish they were a Jew, and they're hiding themselves from you because they don't want you to know who they are.
A lot of them are Khazars. You could debate whether
exactly. I done a video on that.
Even if you say that they are Jews, that's debatable. I mean, I'll leave that on the table. But even if they are, they're a small percentage of them. I mean, like my point is that there are a lot. I mean, it's dumb to me though to sit here and put them all in one bucket and say just all the Jews and simplify stuff that much, because that's going to support Zionism.
Well, yeah,
it's
exactly.
Actually supporting Zionism when you do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Warren, for all we know, when you get to the very top of the pyramid of our evil society, for all we know, it may be what we call an alien, another life form, controlling everything.
Yeah.
And nobody can say it is, and nobody can say it ain't, because nobody can concretely prove anything when it comes to that. And if they say, well, I'm nuts because I said an alien, well, hold on, I live on planet Earth, where I see all kinds of life forms that are alive that we all accepted. So how can you honestly say there isn't another life form when you don't know there is or there ain't?
You know? So I mean, at that point, I mean, it's just something you throw out on the table and you just kind of like, you know, sit on the fence. I mean, there's really not enough evidence to say yay or nay on. I mean,
exactly.
And for the most of them, I try to focus on what I can prove. I mean, once you get to an end.
But I'm with you on that, Warren, because there's a lot of stuff that we may be suspicious and suspect. We could be right, we could be wrong. The only thing we can do with it is say it like I said it and stay sitting on a fence. Never let your guards down. It's just like with what you call in Blue Skies Media. I believe he's probably a real TFLer. But at the same time, he's throwing up a lot of red flags. So even though I'm more leaning to he's a TFLer, I'm not going to just disregard the red flags neither. You
You know,
know?
I want to respond again to Jonathan. He said our best chance to find the top of the pyramid is to trace Zionism. I agree to that, man. I agree with that, but that doesn't mean that it's every Jewish people or it's the entirety of the Jewish population. There's a few high-ranking Jews, yeah, at the top. I mean, but you got to understand that the average Jew at the bottom is being used as a tool, is being lied to and used, and as the ultimate guinea pig, really, and a catalyst for all the rest of us, because that's the quote chosen stock for breeding a new slave, a more quote perfect slave. What does that say for the rest of us? We're not even good enough to be efficient slaves to our quote masters. But still, I mean, that tells you that I mean, is it really that much of a big prize that to be considered the most profitable slave? I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean.
Yeah, well, Warren, it comes right down to this. Whether you think you're a slave or not, you are. How did we all get to become slaves? Because none of us ever stood up for ourselves. Because they could not
Yeah.
do what they do if we had all rose up and stood for ourselves. But see, we're not going to do that, right? Because we're so divided that we'd rather call each other names. You know, the thing in the manosphere, boy, is just like over in the truth community. Because you are fighting one another, calling each other names, lying to yourself and lying to everybody around you, and not understanding that your enemy is laughing at you because you're doing what they wanted you to do all along.
Yeah. Yeah, and the further we can get up as far as the higher the pyramid, we can go to the Rothschilds. Once you get beyond the Rothschilds, man, it becomes a mystery. Nobody knows who goes. I mean, there's somebody or something or someone higher than that. But I mean, hell, anyone's guess is as good as anybody's.
That's
I
what
mean,
I mean.
we got nothing to go on.
That's exactly what I was meaning, Warren. When you go up the pyramid, once you hit the Rothschilds, you're way up towards the top. Anything after that, nobody really knows who they are.
The vast majority of Jews support Zionism. Yeah, the vast majority of people support the government. It's called being brainwashed. It doesn't mean that. I mean, they're being lied to and used. I mean, yeah, they go along with it and they're implicit on some kind of level. But I mean, it's like, I mean, most people don't even know what they're doing, bro. I mean, they're asleep at the wheel, and I mean.
Well, Warren, you're right. You're right. The majority of our society is still asleep at the wheel. We have a few good people. I mean, Ron here is actually a really good man. He's been around since the beginning of TFL pretty much. Okay? He has studied and woke himself up to a lot of stuff. He's not the average sleeping sheeple out there at all. Okay? And I have respect for Ron because Ron's earned it.
Yeah.
Just like Warren, the first day when Warren and I first met. Warren didn't trust me. Do I blame him? Hell no. Okay? How could he? He had to get to know me first. Just like I didn't totally trust Warren because I've been through so many fraudulent people come along that I've met. But the more I got to know Warren, the more I realized, man, it's like I started on one end and he started on another end and we met in the middle.
My thing is like this, man. I don't even blame it all on women, man. I mean, I put them in their place. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to shy away. I mean, I'll hold everybody to their part, but I don't believe in
because well, Warren.
I don't believe it's as simple as saying all one group did this. It took everybody to make this mess.
It sure
everybody,
did.
Man, woman, black, white, brown, Christian, Jewish, atheist, straight, gay, bi, whatever. I mean,
we're all responsible.
Everybody done.
Even though you got to look at the reality is, we grew up in a world where we were lied to our whole lives. But once you got out of school and you started living in the real world, when you turn your back to stuff that's going on, then you become complicit. You become part of the problem. And this is all of us that have done this. Okay?
Yeah.
So And the reality is, all of us are guilty for this, and the only way to correct it is through all of us. And in women, I'll tell you what, yes, women are very evil, very selfish, and narcissists, but if I look at the whole, I see where men really help to create these self entitled narcissist women themselves through pampering and placing on a pedestal. But do I say
Yeah.
all women are bad? No, I don't. It's just finding that
I'm not
good
going to say that
woman
they're
is
all
not easy.
bad, but here's the thing, man. And I say this without trying to sound like I'm coming down on women or blaming all women, but I'm just being real here. I've been on this world for close to 40 years. I have yet, and I mean, I try to say it because I'm very slow to get to this point with anybody, but I'll be flat real. I have yet in my 40 years to concretely and confidently say I've ever met an honest woman.
Well, and the sad thing is Warren and I've talked about this behind the scenes on the phone, and him and I have an agreement here, totally across the board. I'm 58 years old, and I have honestly to say I have yet to meet an honest woman. Now, I'm not putting women down when I say this because I have met one hell of a lot of men that are liar bigots, just like women, right? But at least I have met a few honest men, which is more than I can say about the female gender.
Yeah.
And that's
And
sad.
I was very slow to get to that point because it's almost like, I mean, like, I don't want to be that guy that sits there. I mean, like, I want to be like completely objective, but I mean, sometimes, completely objective means you have to call out things that aren't going to make you very popular. I mean, on any side of anything. I mean, so.
Yeah, well, I talk to a female on Facebook now and again. She don't live that all far from me, and she looks into a lot of the stuff that's going on in society, sees it. She has watched and seen my TFL stuff. She has never ever once ran from me. She still respects me. She still talks to me, and she still brings up what's going on in the world. And because of this, I've learned respect for her. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's one of these things that I'm saying. When I tell people I do not hate women, I'm not lying. I do not hate women at all. I hate corruption.
Yeah.
That's really
I
where that
definitely
comes
hate
from.
what's been allowed to happen.
Yes.
What's been allowed to happen between the genders, and you know, like I said, the reason why women are this far out of control these days is because men allow it. I mean, so yeah, men have to be held accountable for that too. I mean,
That's correct. Men have allowed this situation to get where it's at.
It's funny to me because you have all these people that'll go on, right, and they'll say, they're against feminism for having broke down the family unit, but then they'll turn right around and shit on incels and say, oh, we don't need monogamy. But polygamy destroyed the family unit too. So if you want to get mad at feminism for destroying the family unit, how can you defend polygamy? It don't make any sense.
No, it don't. It don't.
I mean,
my biggest problem is I've struggled so hard in the fight that I've been fighting along with the research has always been my goal has always been to bring the genders back together. And that's almost impossible. Hell, I can't even get the manosphere to come together, let alone bring the genders back together.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is which is pathetically sad, but it also tells me where we're at. You're lost.
Well, let's be real here, Bill. Let's be real here. How can you expect women to identify with men's struggles when men won't even identify with men's struggles? When men are sitting there too busy attacking ourselves and throwing each other under the damn bus.
Got that right. Oh my God.
I mean, that's just being painfully real about it.
Well, that is as real as it gets. And that is exactly 100% true. And that actually pisses me off even more. How men are so, because see, we have this competitive world where one ups and somebody else makes you more of a man. No, it doesn't. It makes you a damn parasite. It makes you complicit, part of the problem. But we live in a world where everything's a game, right, Warren? It's a sport. It's an
Yeah.
arena. It's a game. Another human being's emotions and feelings is a game to be played with, right? And then you can't figure out why you get yourself killed.
You know. Well, I mean, I said it. These are the same people. It's like, you know, it still fucks with my mind, you know. And I remember even Jordan Peterson came out one time and he said, you know, well, games are necessary in a relationship. Games are necessary part of a relationship. So wait a minute. You talk about wanting to build strong families, but yet you want to have game in the household because nothing spells a stable house and a stable family like constant drama and games, right?
Yes.
I mean, like,
well, there's
we got to get back. We got to get back to strong families, but in order to do that, I mean, you know, we got to do things. We got to put back in place of practices that I don't see them putting back into place, man. Monogamy has got to be put back into place. Monogamy was specifically put in place for that specific reason, so that women would be shared equally amongst the men, so that all men would have fair access.
So everybody could have a companion
woman
in their life. This shit of one man thinks he has to have 3-4 wives is complete hogwash.
And they want to call us and talk for just wanting one, but yeah, Chad has to be able to have 7 or 8, or he's being oppressed.
Oh yeah, right. No, he's not being oppressed. He's a parasite. He's greedy.
Yeah, I mean it's.
You know, and,
yeah,
and that's really what I call it. I call it a parasite. I call it being greedy. You know, and we've over sexualized society so bad that the first thing on people's minds is the sex. Okay? And you need to lose that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting sex. I'm not saying that sex isn't fun or anything wrong with it, but what I'm telling you is all of your priorities are completely out of order. Men and women alike. That's why I've always said that you don't know what you're doing in the dating arena to begin with, because you haven't the first clue. You got everything completely flipped upside down, reverted, twisted inside out. Why do you think I put what I put in this live feed at the top, where it says, just look at us. Everything's backwards. Everything's upside down. Doctors destroy our
health. Clown world.
Yeah. Well, but that's
like clown world. Honk, honk.
That is as raw truth as you can get right in your face right there. And I'm going to keep...
Yeah, clown world spells the death of an empire. It spells, we're on our last days. Count your days. It's fallen, bro.
Well, that's it. That's it. You're looking at the fall of the United States. So for all of you people that says, I live in the land of the free. First off, you've never been free, dummy. Okay? And for all of you people that says, we are brave and we are strong. No, you're not. You're cowards and weaklings.
Well, look, again, you know, he says, he's talking about Jordan Peterson. He says he has a lot of track-type opinions, which is the last thing the New World Agent would be promoting. But is he promoting that? He's promoting games to destroy families and stuff. I mean, think about that. I mean, the system sets up your own controlled opposition. They know certain people are going to go a certain way, so they give them the leaders to follow. These leaders are going to tell people what they want to hear and then spin them off. So, no, that's not against what the New World Order is promoting. I mean, not towards that demographic who's already going that way anyway, who have to be diverted into a different direction.
Well, you know, Warren.
Yeah, you got to understand how deep this shit runs.
Well, Warren, we talked about this before, and let's say it together right here on this show. What is the core of New World Order?
The core of New World Order is pretty much dating and eugenics. Really, when you get down to it.
Exactly, the dating scene. What happens in the dating scene? You breed. What do they do not want us doing? Breeding.
They want to control our breeding. That's eugenics 101, controlled breeding, which goes back to, again, the dating scene.
Exactly. It all goes right back to the dating scene. Where did TFL come from? Right out of the dating scene, didn't it?
Ron, I have to go back and look the video up, but the dude did an open video talking about how game is necessary in relationships and went on to defend games. And I could dig you up that damn. I mean, I could dig up that video. I don't got time to right now because I'm in the middle of a live stream. But
Right. Well,
I mean,
let me address this a minute.
like,
Hold on one.
well, let me go ahead and say this. Let me go ahead and say this right now. Anybody who thinks that Donald Trump or the alt-right is legitimate opposition, or that traditionalism is some sort of opposition, bear in mind, liberal feminism came from gynocentric traditionalism, which started in about the 1920s. I believe it was the 1920s, the suffragist movement. The suffragist movement is older than feminism.
Yes.
And that's when the attack on men started. That's when equality plus chivalry began.
Well, let me address Ron.
You know.
Let me address Ron's comment real quick, okay? Because when Ron
Yeah.
goes game, destroys the family, and he goes, really? Well, that would actually be a very true statement, Ron. Okay? Because you got to understand, this person may be against legal divorce, but this is the elephant in the room. Because if I tell you I'm against legal divorce, you know it's a third party contract, the government's involved, so yeah, I agree with that, right? Well, now you follow because you're agreeing with that. Then he tells you got a game. But what is game based on? Manipulation and lies. Deceiving somebody to get your want. That is what game is based on. And if you're going to start a relationship by lying and deceiving, then you've already destroyed the relationship before it ever got started.
You know, it doesn't understand to me how this modern tradition is coming back as an answer to feminism, when that's what feminism grew from in the first place.
Yes.
I mean, feminism is rooted in that shit, man. I mean, you know.
Well, it is, but I've always been offended by them using game, because everything in society has been turned into a game. And in this game, it goes from the work site to everywhere in society, at every leg of society. And the only thing it's ever done for you is cause division, cause fighting, cause killing, okay? Destroys families, destroys relationships, destroys everything it comes in contact with, because everybody has to be a winner. Nobody wants to be a loser. And what is a word that's famously thrown around the dating scene, especially towards men? Loser.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Well, you know what? In a way, people can say this is a cope. Maybe it is in some ways, man. But it helps me get through, man. Is in a way is that if we live in such a degenerate society, being called a loser in a way is a compliment, whether they intend it to be a compliment or not. I mean, you know, do I really want to win in a society? It's all about degeneracy. It's all about degeneracy and treating other people like shit and just being a complete asshound and marching valiantly into your own enslavement.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's really what.
I mean, who's the real loser there?
Exactly, man. Warren, you're right on spot, because that's right where it comes from. You go walking through society playing game, and game means you're lying and deceiving, and you're all out there. You look around you, people are treating each other like complete shit. Okay, how many people want to be a friend or hang around somebody that's going to treat you lower than a piece of dirt on the ground, and then say, "I love you"?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, it says repopulation in Europe, depopulation everywhere else. Europe and the West still need stable birth rates to maintain the economy, so they'll force multiculturalism there, practice eugenics everywhere else. Well, that's true to a certain extent. They are, but white people are going to be minorities in the next 20, 30 years. But you know, they're not concerned with keeping a stable economy in much of Europe. Europe and a lot of the Western empire is going to become a third world empire. China's going to be the ones that are going to be leading the new age. The European empire is done with, man. It served its purpose. They use the white man and the European for building the industrial revolution. That's already done. That's already gave way to the technological revolution. Now they're using the Asians. They're using the Chinese.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, I want to say something about what Still Coyle said about the 19th Amendment, okay? Women's right to vote.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, a lot, I've seen people using this before. Now, Still Coyle still isn't using this phrase, okay? But the reality is, the 19th Amendment also has a lot of amended things in it. And anytime you see an amendment to the 19th uh, Amendment of the Constitution, anytime you hear amendment, this means you've changed something that was originally wrote to mean something else. Because that is what an amendment is. Now, who has the powers to change our Constitution and put the word amendment? The elite. That's not a good thing. Because first off, the right to vote, let's get real. When women couldn't vote, neither could men. The only people that could vote was the wealthy, rich landowners back in the day. Then the elite decided we would allow the normal peasant man to vote because he went to war and the woman didn't. So he made the woman wait 5 more years before she was allowed to vote. Now, who done that?
Yeah.
A handful of people at the very top did that to an entire population, or, so no. The truth is when women couldn't vote, neither could men. But they didn't want you knowing that part.
Well, that too, when people talk about, like, I hear people say all the time, and a lot of coincidence, there's all the time about how, we got a Constitution to protect us. The Constitution is a piece of paper. You know something? Every country on the face of the earth has had a Constitution. Fucking USSR had a Constitution. That didn't stop them from murdering fucking millions of people and then completely fucking wiping their ass with that Constitution.
Oh, no, exactly. No different than so-called religion, okay? And so-called, religion and church is separate of the government. BS, never was and never will be. And let's just use your religion for a moment. God says the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. So we'll go kill millions of people in the name of God.
Yeah,
And then you're gonna see, then you got these people still out there stuck on it. I'm not against you having faith and believing in a creator. You want to call it God or whatever you want to call it. I choose to call it our creator, right? I'm not against that at all. You're allowed your own belief and faith, but what you're not allowed to do is shove it down somebody else's throat.
Yeah, I just got an argument with somebody the other day. I mean, it's not because they have their own view. It's just because they just come out here so arrogantly trying to push it down my throat. It's like, look, you can have your own view. I didn't even argue with the dude. It was on one of Blue Scott's videos, actually. But dude coming to me out of nowhere. I mean, I wrote 1 or 2 lines talking about what I think. I wasn't forceful about it. I just wrote what I thought. And this motherfucker comes up with paragraphs, and you're wrong because Jesus is the answer, and the Bible this, and Bible that, Bible this, and like paragraphs of this shit, man. I'm like, dude, I'm not even gonna go there, bro. I mean, it's like just fucking stupid, man. I mean.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
It's like, yeah. I mean, if I really want to be an asshole, I'd be like, yeah, okay. You believe that because why? Because your mommy and your daddy believe it.
Okay.
I mean, why not believe in Peter Pan? I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be an asshole to somebody who has their beliefs as long as they're not being an asshole and being too forceful to me about it. But
that sucks. Okay. Well, I'll call. Just bring Richie home tonight. Okay. I'm in a live feed, so I gotta go.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. Fine. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
but I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, how people are still. I don't know, man. I don't understand religious fundamentals. I don't understand fundamentalism, period. Whether it's from the Christians, whether it's from the Muslims, whether it's from the atheists, whether it's from whoever.
Well, I piss a lot of people off when I talk about religion because I tell them that is the elite's blueprint, planned, wrote by the elite, and given to the people. And then people get mad at me for saying that, and I say that for good reason. Okay, We know we're in a world filled full of evil. We know evil is fighting against good, and there's a war of evil versus good going on. We all know this, and nobody ever denies that, right? And
Yeah.
right now, evil is winning, right? So if
Yeah.
you're in a world full of evil versus good, and evil is actually winning, then you might want to ask yourself a real simple question. If that Bible is such the good book that you say it is, why would evil allow it to be in every single motel room across the whole country?
You know, I will say this, man. Some good things did come out of religion as far as maintaining a stable structure in society, as far as maintaining values that kept a stable society, that kept it functioning.
Oh,
And
yes.
that way, I guess it did some good. But the fact that people had to be lied to and fed fairy tales in order to keep a functional society, in and of itself, tells that we have a problem.
Oh, yes.
I
Yes,
mean,
yes, exactly. Warren, you're right on spot. You know, and I want to say a couple more things that might piss some people off. But Warren knows me. You all should know me by now. I don't care if I piss you off. Okay? I just don't care. Because I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. Okay? If I go back to when I was a child and my family took us to church and I had to go to Sunday school as a child, I always remember what I was taught. And I have problems with that. First off, God created the earth, right? And then he created all the animals, right? And then he created Adam. And then Adam was lonely, so he took a rib from Adam and created Eve, right? This is what I was taught, right? I have a problem with that. So you're going to tell me Adam and Eve were the only two humans on the earth? And in church and Sunday school, they said, yep. And I said, okay, so let's think about that. Then that means we're all brothers and sisters because that means Adam and Eve had to give birth to a boy and a girl, and the brother and sister had to have sex and give birth to another boy and a girl that had sex to give birth to another boy and a girl. And then you got to explain, where did the Chinese come from? Where did the Asian come from? The Asian people come from? Where did the black people come from? Where did the white people come from? Where did our different tongues come from? See, it
and
don't add up.
you touched on something there, Bill, too, talking about the inbreeding problem, because that's another thing that people don't look at, man. High rates of polygamy are going to lead to inbreeding, right? At the same time, if you go in the opposite direction, which is the only way that you will maintain any relative freedom in open societies in small groups of 200 or less, but that also runs into the problem, in such small groups, how would you avoid inbreeding? I mean, it seems to me that that's the invisible dilemma in civilization and in society that people don't really put much focus on, is when they look at sex as being, or relationships and sex as being trivial, like social things, instead of major foundational things to developing a society and a civilization. They understand that that's not just a plaything, bro. These things have very real world consequences, and these things have to be managed properly. You can't just leave it to their own devices, throw caution to the wind, and just let whatever happens happens. You've got to plan these things like you do everything else. I mean, because it will lead to inbreeding. And the right thing is how many times do we hear them talking about, well, the reason why we're incels is because we're genetically inferior. Like, only the top 20% of men should be allowed to breed because that's going to lead to superior offspring. But that doesn't lead to superior offspring. It leads to heritability, which leads to inbreeding.
Yep, exactly. And on top of that, look at the last comment from Cold Steel, Warren.
Chinese operative espionage agents active here in Silicon Valley, hiding in plain sight. I believe it, man.
He's right. I know that to be fact. He is correct.
Well, look, man, Chinese have been buying up land here for quite some time, right? Then think about it. When the grid crashes, we already know the elite's plan is to push the Chinese as the next big empire, right? When the grid crashes here in America, right, and there's chaos in the street, who do you think they're going to come in to clean up all this shit? The Chinese.
Yeah. Well, not
right?
even that, Warren.
Well, let me finish. Let me think about this here, right? When the U.S. government is ordering their military to do unconstitutional things to the people, okay, there's going to be a big portion of the U.S. military that aren't going to turn on their own people. They're going to turn against their government. right?
Yes.
So the U.S. military is going to factionalize. It's going to fragment off into different areas. All this technology the U.S. military has right now is going to be left out on the table. So when the Chinese are coming in to restore order back, you see what I'm saying? They're going to be able to take all that technology for themselves.
Well, yeah, but here, I want to throw something in, something Warren said. The Chinese has been buying up our land. Warren's not off on that. But you know how they got our land? Because the richest country in the world was in debt to China. Because we owed China and we couldn't afford to pay them back, even though we print money out of thin air, controlled by the Rothschild dynasty. Okay?
Bear in mind, they're writing a script, right? And this is a script right here, right? The pen is mightier than the sword. The Chinese are beating us with a pen, right? We have the sword of technology right now. They're beating us with a pen so they can take our sword.
Yep, and all 10 planks for Ron, all 10 planks of communism is already fully in place in the United States. And anybody that thinks that's not true, better firmly go look, because it's happening right in your face.
Yeah, and I get what he's saying. He's want to say, oh, the Jews are involved. I'm sure there are a lot of high-placed Jews that are involved on stuff. I never denied that. I never said that there weren't Jews in high places. I even specifically explained that the reason why they get ahead in the system was because it's a slave system, and they're bred to be the most efficient slaves in the system. I never denied that Jews were in high places, and there were even high-ranking Jews and bloodlines that are manufacturing stuff. So that's a straw man argument. It's a straw man point. I mean, I never said that the Jews didn't have a hand in any of this. I just don't think it's every Jewish person. I don't think you can blame the entire Jewish population.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going right here. Okay? It's not that Ron is wrong about what Ron's saying, but understand this. It's not concretely the entire culture of all Jews. That's like blaming all of the blacks or all of the whites and blaming an entire race of people on the problems that's going on when there's good and bad in every single race on the face of this earth.
You know what I mean?
And it's by no means is it's the entire race of Jews. I'll guarantee you.
The fact that I'm against Zionism kind of tells you that I'm against all the wrong stuff that a lot of Jews in high power are doing wrong, right? The fact that I'm willing to speak against Zionism,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Warren, one of people.
If I was going to cover for the Jews, I wouldn't talk about Zionism. I won't say anything bad about Zionism, but I am speaking about Zionism, so.
Well, what Warren, I understand Warren. And Warren is correct, because the reality is something I've always preached. Okay? Not one entire race is responsible for the world's problems. Warren said something earlier in our live stream that is accurate as all hell. It's every single race of every single person in the entire planet that in one way or another has been complicit with the problems we have.
Yeah.
And I've always said, follow the money, names and faces, fuck the race argument. I don't care if they're Jews, I don't care if they're Muslim, I don't care if they're black, I don't care where they're from, okay? Reality is, we have good and bad in all races.
Wait a minute, this is where Ron is wrong. He says, of course, it isn't all the Jews, but then he contradicts himself in the very next line. He says, but the New World Order agenda comes from a mindset that is inherent to all Jews. Inherent to all Jews? Well, if it's inherent to all Jews, then how do you explain the Jews that speak out against Zionism?
Yeah.
There are Jews that are against Zionism.
But see, this is goes back to what Warren said earlier. It's a straw man argument. You got to get off blaming an entire culture, because there's more seems to in your eyes. To me, what you're seeing is a blatant setup. If you put a high majority, or if you put a good number of one race in high positions, then that's what people focus on, and then people begin to believe that's your real problem when the people who put him in them positions, okay, probably wasn't even a Jew. See, you don't stop to think about that. We have a hidden class of people that are never discussed. We have people at the very, very top of the pyramid that's above the Rothschild dynasty that we don't even know who they are.
But even that, he says as a tiny minority or against. Okay, well, fine, I can roll with that. But here's the thing, I mean, the majority of the average Jewish people are brainwashed, just like everybody else inside. They're brainwashed and they're fed information and they just go along with it. Okay.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting at. Okay, Ron. Here's what I'm getting at. Okay. You want to prevent them from supporting Zionism, right? So the last thing you want to do is blanket statement and blame make sweeping generalization against the entirety of the people of them and saying that they're all responsible for this. Because if everybody just unanimously all across the world blames the entire Jewish population for everything that's going wrong, where do you think they're going to go to? They're going to go to Israel. Then you're supporting Zionism. Wouldn't it be a better method or better idea to try to show them that there's another way, or try to de-brainwash them in some way and say, like, I'm not saying that you should go out of your way to cater to them or nothing, but at the same time, it's obviously not going to do much to prevent Zionism if we just go along with the narrative. It's all the Jews. That's going to push them into Zionism.
Yes.
I mean,
well, it is. It's no different than, okay, let's throw in another example in their face. Okay, we understand that we had slavery a couple 300 years ago, and we understand that black people at that time was used as slaves. But what a lot of people don't know, it was black people who sold their own people, their own race to the white men. Okay, and then it was white men that stood by and hid blacks that went to fight a war to free the black people. And then we come up to today's time where nobody that's alive on this planet had anything to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And how many blacks do you still hear today calling the race card and using slavery against white people who ain't racist, has done nothing to them?
I see that all the time.
Exactly.
But even still, I'm not going to go out there and say, that because there's some out there that is every black guy.
No, it's not. That's the problem, is we have good people in all races. And your color of your skin don't make you who you are. It's who you choose to be. If you want to recognize other people by the skin color, you're the one with a problem. Because you don't recognize somebody by their skin color to begin with. You should be looking at another person as a human being like yourself.
Yeah.
And I've never been a racist in all my life. I don't care where somebody's from. I don't care what color their skin is. They're a human being just like me. They need to be treated properly with respect like anybody else. That's where I come from with that.
Now, to an extent, now hear me out here, to an extent, I can kind of see where some of the white people are concerned about the fact that, in the future, if we're going to be a minority, at the current rate of things, we might be a hunted and hated minority. And I agree with what
I agree with what you're saying, because we're seeing that going on. Now, that is true. That is going on. But I'm going to go right back to the real reason it's going on, because we're allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
There's no other ifs or ands about it. We are allowing it to happen. So, I mean, the crux of the whole problem that we have in society comes back to all of us. And I don't care if you don't like hearing that or not, because it does come back to all of us. Because if we would get our heads out of, you know what, realize, like in the manosphere, for example, we have many names being used. We have TFL, we have men going their own way, we have incel, okay, we have forever alone, and even Warren knows some names that I ain't even got in my head.
I've never understood the psychology of self-hatred too. You see that a lot with like all these white guys that hate themselves, these white liberals that hate themselves because they're white. Like, look, I'm not particularly concerned with trying to preserve the white race either, because I don't consider any TFL guy, regardless of what race. I don't see what the point in preserving a race of people that don't want you is. We've already discussed that earlier. That being said, I'm not going to sit here on the other side of the coin. I'm not going to sit here and apologize for shit that I didn't do, that I had no control over.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to.
You know,
and why would you?
I mean,
you know, and there's that sad one, because Warren brought up something that's very valuable, because the reality is we've seen guys, white men, apologizing for something they never done. And what is wrong with that narrative? If you're apologizing for enslaving the blacks when you wasn't responsible, wasn't around, never agreed to it, wouldn't have never done it yourself, what are you doing apologizing for that? That's like apologizing for robbing a bank you never robbed.
You know? I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you see a lot of this self-hatred. It's more pervasive when it comes to the self-hatred you see amongst men, because it's very obvious, because they don't have these blinders on when it comes to race, because there's no bonding, there's no romantic like bonding contract between races like there is between genders. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think that's why there's a blind spot when it comes to male self-hatred as opposed to like racial self-hatred.
Well, yeah.
Like particularly amongst white men.
I actually think you're right, Warren.
Yeah.
Because we definitely have a blind spot in that area. And, you know, and it's sad when you got all of these different names for groups, and all these men online in the manosphere are basically complaining about the same problems. And then when something as phony as our recent bagel shop incident happens, people don't get it. I've been telling them for over 6 months now that they're moving in on the manosphere. They're moving in to pass mental health laws against the manosphere. And they're going to use that bagel shop incident as another scenario to push a bill or law to take rights away from the manosphere, most likely for starting off with you're not allowed to own a gun.
Well, you know what they're doing too, man? What they're doing too, Bill, is they're dividing up the manosphere along racial lines. We should be brothers regardless of whether we're white, black, or Asian. We're all facing the same struggle when it comes to this shit, right?
Exactly.
Okay, as far as being TFLers and so. But what they've done, man, is they use the incel label across the media to designate this problem, right? And what do? They go ahead and they misrepresent statistics, which are painfully inaccurate. And they say that there was a bunch of alt-right white males who are into this incel stuff, even though like 2/3 of them are fucking like Asians or some shit, or like, you know, minorities. But I mean, you know, they completely ignore that, right? I mean,
yep.
So what does that do? What does that do? Well, it creates this rivalry within the TFL incel groups, where it creates a racial divide, where people start identifying with their race for whatever reason I can't figure out. I mean, like, they start identifying with people who push them into their situation.
Well, what they're really doing, Warren, is they're using everything you just said, because that's exactly what it creates, right? So it creates division within the manosphere, gets us fighting with one another to destroy the manosphere, to stop the manosphere from standing together.
Yeah. Well, that too. I mean, what Ron says, America made its bed with multiculturalism being an immigrant nation and should lie in it. Europe does not need it. I kind of understand that to a certain point. Here's the thing about that. I'm against the whole multiculturalism trend, but I mean, Europe could argue from a point of ancestral homeland. America, whites in America, as far as us being a minority the next 20, 30 years, yeah, they could be concerned about the point of their safety and want to have a future for their children. But as far as this being some kind of ancestral homeland, it's not. We stole that land. Anywhere outside of Europe is not an ancestral homeland for white people. Only Europe is. Anywhere else,
Yeah.
So yeah, that argument holds for Europe. It doesn't hold anywhere else. I mean,
No. But the one thing
I
do
can totally understand, even if they're in South Africa, which is predominantly black nation, and even historically black nation, whatever, that's fine. Even there, I can understand why when you have like a white minority who are being persecuted and they want to flee for their freedom. I understand why they'd be concerned for their safety.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
I mean,
it is very true. We have the same similar situations here in the United States, whether you know it or not. When I was living up in Bradenton, Florida, and I was doing remodels and stuff, for all them years I remodeled homes and commercial buildings. I would go into a all dominant black neighborhood and have to work on this place. And I would go in there and I would have a black person across the street yelling at me, saying, "You fucking cracker, you got a lot of gall being in my hood." And there you go, right there.
I'm gonna tell you too, man. I'm gonna tell you too, man. The left race baits the minorities, the blacks. That's pretty easy to point that out there, right? Anybody who's awake to all this libtard shit going on. I mean, I don't need to go into that. The right race baits white people the same way, but it's a little bit more subtle. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. Okay, well, let's go back to right. People are frustrated with the standoff between these fucking social justice warrior dipshit protesters and the fucking police, right? And so people get frustrated with that, and they vote Trump in office to take care of this problem, right? Well, they vote in all these police powers to deal with the protesters under Trump, right? But yet these same protesters have already been ordered to stand down several times by the government. So what do you think is going to happen if you give them these powers to use against the protesters, right? Against the people? Do you think they're going to use them against those protesters, or do you think they're going to use them against the alt-right people who voted those powers in? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's going to come back and turn around and bite them in the ass. They're giving the same goddamn police that told them to stand down the first time more powers to use against them.
Yeah.
And if they attempt that somehow they're just going to have a change of heart and all of a sudden, just on the drop of a dime, use it against these SJWs. I don't see that happening.
No. Well, the SJW,
I mean,
what you're seeing going on now is just furtherly dividing the genders and dividing people. When it's all said and done, as people have noticed, if anybody that's awake notices, we have women that are walking away from men. We have men that are pissed off at women, and women are pissed off at men, and the elite's winning. And now you have the gay community, and if you speak up against a woman, you've always been a misogynist, right? Well, the feminists have found out that now when they speak up against a transsexual, a guy who wants to be a woman, the government is siding with the transsexual.
Yeah.
Because the feminist agenda, they're done with now. They have moved on to the new agenda, which is what everybody's witnessing.
Yeah.
So, well, it's the fall of our society. You have no way of stopping it, because as long as people want to keep going along with their narrative, and people want to keep the infighting going, you're never ever going to stand up for yourself. You're never going to stand against your real enemy, and you're all going to lose your damn ass.
Yeah.
You can't win. I don't care how tough you think you are. You've already lost because you're complicit with the people. It's no different than in the truther community. It's filled full of hypocrites and egomaniacs And you know, the truther community won't touch the core of the problem because it's too personal. You know, if Warren and I went through a buffet line and did what the truther community is doing, that means we would select out what truth we want and disregard the other truth because we didn't want to talk about that.
Well, you know, about it being too personal, it's funny they talk about, oh, it's too personal as an excuse. Well, I'm pretty sure your private thoughts are about as personal as it gets, right? But yet Yale University is developing brain chips that can dive into your personal thoughts. And they don't have no problem talking about that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they have no problem talking about that, do they? You know?
No, they don't.
I did a video this morning showing them that nice new little fucking camera, okay, with a mic with audio that goes both directions, and Amazon was selling this thing, okay, and it has the ability to upload the video to cloud because it's internet, you know, blah blah blah, and a lot of people are going to think, oh, this is a cool device for my house because I can put this in here and it has a motion detector on it, and I can film when I'm at home. I can check to see if anybody's in my house and blah blah blah. Well, what they don't understand is now the government can come through the back door of your computer, access your cam with your mic, with the audio, and they can watch you in your house and listen to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what that's about. A hacker can hack into your computer now and look at your house and look inside your house. And so then I was a smart ass when I did a little advertisement for them and told them, buy one, buy it today. Buy one for every room in your house, including your bathroom, so that we can watch you ladies take a shower.
Here's another thing you got to bear in mind too, being online is this, man. It's been brought before in the past. Is that the government? You know they love to stereotype guys who are in our situation, TFL guys, right? They love to make shit up and say, oh, we're psychopaths or we're pedophiles or whatever, right?
Oh yes.
Okay. Right now, the government can go on your computer without you even knowing about it and embed child porn on your computer. You don't even know it's there. Okay. The FBI could come to your house and arrest you for having this stuff on your computer that you didn't even know was there in the first place.
Yep, because they came in the back door. Because most people don't understand. I don't care what Windows system you have. I don't care if it's an Apple. And it don't have Windows. They built back doors so that they can come into your device. The only way to stop them is to disconnect the cord from the internet to your computer. You almost need an off and on switch. When you shut the computer down for the day, you shut the switch off to the internet. But the problem is maybe you turn it out at the beginning of the day. Maybe you're out there cooking dinner. Your computer's on because you're not done yet. And they pick that time to come into your computer. Or they come into your computer while you're on your computer and you don't know they're in your computer.
Yeah.
So just like Warren said, they can plant anything on anybody's computer they want and come to your door and arrest you.
Yeah. And you better believe, too, I mean, you know, if it gets to the point where they start rounding up a lot of us for talking about this stuff, they're going to be doing a whole lot of shit like that.
Yeah. You know,
we're going to need a reason. We're going to need an official reason to put down on paper on the legal documents as to why. So they'll create one.
Well, that's you know, our commenter here who wrote Smart Military, he's correct because anything that has the smart name to it is actually a military weapon. That's what the smart that's what the smart stands for. You know, that cam I showed you this morning on Amazon is a smart cam. You're holding a smartphone in your hand, the majority of our population is, and you're glued to it all day long, not knowing that they can listen to you, watch you, and record everything you say.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course the dumb sheep will buy. Yeah, because I mean most people believe whatever they hear in the media, and especially these days and age when you bring gender into it. You know, I mean, people have a knee-jerk reaction. Right? The guy's automatically guilty. The guy's automatically the villain. You know, you don't need any proof. I mean, her accusation is enough. Or the government's accusation.
Well, he said he got that.
If a woman or a government says that it can't be wrong.
Yeah. But the truth behind smart, it is military. And people don't understand that. They don't realize that it's the military-industrial complex that branched off to the military media industrial complex that's controlling all forms of media. They think they have their alternative media online, which is no different than the right and the left in politics. They're all controlled by the same entity.
And what you realize, man, is people were roughly more moderate, prior to all these damn identity politics being stirred up by the liberals during the Obama administration. All that shit happened, man. And now all of a sudden, you don't see many. I mean, even though politics is fake, even before people were at least more moderate and weren't such wing nuts. Nowadays, you see it's becoming very trendy for people to be wing nuts to the left or the right.
Yeah.
I mean, So I mean, it actually went back several steps. I mean, it's crazy, man. It really is. I mean, people these days even admit that free thinking is dead. I mean, I've been to forums before online where where I've just flat out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, just blue pill fucking entertainment forums I'd go to, and I would just have a rant and just bust out of nowhere, and people are like, yeah, it's very rare to see people who actually have free thinking. Free thinking is pretty much dead these days. I remember the days when that existed, and that's the comments I'd be getting. I'm like, this way. I mean, well, think about it, man. Free thinking now is classed as a mental illness according to the fucking DSM too. And most people think they're free thinking because they're a wing nut. That's how stupid it is. Well, I'm a free thinker because I'm a stupid SJW, or I'm a free thinker because I'm a fucking all-right guy, or whatnot. I mean, and most of the time, here it is in a nutshell. I'll explain to you the whole dilemma of, quote, nonconformity and free thinking. Back when Bush Jr. was in office, and he was pushing all this Christian identity politics about 10 years ago, let's say, right? The left was the, quote, counterculture, the quote, nonconformists, the, quote, free thinkers. Then they became the mainstream, and they started pushing all their fucking bullshit. Now the right are the, quote, free thinkers, the, quote, nonconformists. As state sponsors authorized, quote, nonconformity for people who don't have the balls to really go out there and think for themselves.
That's it.
I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to.
It's just sad that we've allowed our society and our world to go this far. Why we wouldn't rise up against this handful of people when we outnumber them so bad? You figure, where do they get their military from? Us, the people. Where do they get their power from? Us, the people. And we just sit back and let these psychopathic nut jobs do this to us, and we do nothing about it.
No, they don't. And I mean, again, it's like one of those things. Like, well, what is the ultimate solution? I don't know what the solution is, man, because it seems the more I study the human condition, man, part of it's nature and part of it's nurture, man. I mean, but even if we go back to, like, let's say, for us to maintain a truly free society, right? And I'm not talking about this fake illusion of freedom like we have in modern Western society, right? Where they give you the illusion of freedom so that you don't rebel, so that people keep staying in line. I'm talking about like real freedom. To have a real free society, you'd have to be in a group of 200 or less, right? Well, when you're in a group of 200 or less, this is going to open up new problems. One, how do you avoid inbreeding in small communities? Okay, it's pre-civilization. They would do one of two things. They would either marry the women off their friendly tribes, or they'd invade other tribes and rape their women. I don't think either of those things would be a good idea today, right?
No.
And two, what would you do in the case of, let's say you have your group of 200 people, right? Let's say out of that group of 200 people, right, once you removed all the women and the children, let's say you have about, let's say you have about 70 men left over out of that, right? Okay, now what are you going to do when a much larger group of thugs comes along? Let's say they got an army of like 2,000 men strong, 10,000 men strong, whatever it is, okay? They don't care about maintaining freedom. They just want to be thugs. They're too dumb to care about freedom. But they have a monopoly on guns. They have a monopoly on manpower. Now, no, they want to come in and kick your shit in. You're not going to beat them without heavy losses.
Yeah.
And whether you have enough people to survive, even if you manage to fight them off, whether you have enough people for the community to survive after that, it's questionable.
Yep.
So I mean, I look at these things, and there doesn't appear to be a clear answer to the human condition, man.
Actually, Warren, it comes back to one thing, and I don't ever see it happening. Okay, and it actually relates to what Greg just mentioned. Okay, he says, what kind of demon would plant something so vile and to intentionally ruin someone's life? This is what happens when you have a society full of people who have lost the ability to care.
Yeah.
Because that right there is the real root cause of the behavior that we do. What we see going on in today's society has been socially engineered, but when you had the cremation of care, that was the ultimate weapon. Because as long as people don't care about other people, this is what happens. Because think about how many millions of men are pushed out of life for no reason other than, well, they were too short, or they didn't look good enough, or they didn't have this. Like as if Warren had any say so who was his parents. Like as if he had any say so on how tall he was going to get, or what he was going to look like. And like that should fucking matter to begin with.
Well, the internet too. Going back to what Jody is saying here, the internet is a double-edged sword. It's good and it's bad for different reasons. It's bad because it gives the government the ability to spy on us and to collect information on us and to potentially even destroy us. But it's good in the sense that even though most people don't use it for this, it's given us the ability to reach out and spread out and share information in ways that have never been possible before. So this given a lot of people the ability to become awake and black-pilled, if you will, or whatever else. That wouldn't have happened, of course, without the internet. I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened, but it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
I want to know a fraction of what I know now without the internet because I want to know which books to go read. I mean, yeah, I did get a lot of information from books that weren't online, but I knew about those books because of the internet. So, I mean,
I guess it's what he said. It's catch-22. You have a situation where we are more connected than ever, and at the same time we are more disconnected than ever. You're actually more disconnected through the connection than you've ever been in your entire life.
Yeah. But he is right about what he's saying, though, man. And I don't doubt the military were probably the first ones the Soviet military were the first ones to actually have televisions, and they were used for tools to condition their troops, for mind controlling their troops. And once they realized they were successful at mind controlling the troops in the Soviet, then they went to implement these televisions into people's houses all around the world.
Yes.
You see.
Yeah, well, the TV's done a damn good job of brainwashing people. It was the perfect.
Yeah, it has.
It was the perfect weapon because you looked at it as your entertainment. You looked at it as your news.
And you know something? Television is being phased out now because now all the shows are on streaming services and online and the internet, and that's becoming the new TV.
It is. Well, when Google.
And you know what? It's worse than TV, and I'll tell you why. Like I said, going back in a sense, because your television can't spy on you. Your computer can.
Yeah, well, the smart TV can spy on you, Warren.
Well, okay, well, yeah, but not as directly as the computer. I mean, they're not. I mean, they can. I mean, they can put like cameras and crap in it, but.
Well, the smart.
But, I mean, it's not going to sit here and collect.
Yeah.
It's not going to digitally collect information on you.
No.
I mean,
well, the smart TV has the ability to spy on you, and they can record what they capture. Okay, but the computer is much worse. Your cell phone.
Yeah.
Your cell phone is your smart cell phone is nothing more than a mini computer you're holding in your hand.
Yeah.
It's every bit as dangerous as a computer because it is a mini computer.
Well, think about this, Bill. Think about this. You started off with the internet, right? And you had landline phones, and then came your cell phones, and then came your smartphones, which are your computer and your phone in one, right? And people get more used to this, right? Next step up is to get people to put a chip in their left hand, right? When they get that done with that becomes normal to them after so many generations. And the next step is to put a chip in their brain.
Yes, yes.
It's gradual. It's gradual. It's incrementally and slowly pushing this agenda little bit by little bit over so many generations.
Well, this is what how they got us where we're at because what you just said, Warren, is how they've always done it. Baby steps, little by little.
Yeah.
That is exactly how they got it.
People will form a normalcy bias. If that's all they know, that's all they've grown up with. They'll form a normalcy bias, and they won't. That's why people today, these kids today, they don't see no problem with not having any privacy, because they've grown up in a world where they've never known what it's like to not. I mean, that's all they've ever known.
That's it.
So they don't see a problem with that.
No,
I mean,
because it's you're so used to it that it's a norm. And once it becomes norm, you don't bitch and complain about it. You go along with it.
Yeah.
So know, and and it's sad because yes, they are moving TV to the computer. That's what's the one really funny thing is when the original owners of YouTube was forced into court and at gunpoint made the sale. Then Google got its hands on it up in Silicon Valley, where all of our corporate entities and evils at, right there in Silicon Valley. Okay?
Yeah.
What they done when they first got their hands on it is they did make the announcement their goal was to turn YouTube into a television set. And that's exactly what they're doing.
They've even got YouTube-specific programs out there right now, man. Because I got done watching one of them a few weeks ago called Cobra Kai.
YouTube offers TV service, cable-ish TV service. You could buy cable-ish TV set through YouTube right now. It's sad because even people misunderstand how society really was formed because sports.
Well, that's it. To me, to disconnect people from reality. Because the more people get involved, that like all this stuff is going to eventually start moving. You see this too with the VR headsets and all that stuff. What it's going to do is it's going to whisk people away until they're going to be inside the video game, or they're going to be inside the television show or whatnot, and they're not going to be connected. I mean, they're going to be living outside of actual reality. They're going to be living.
They're already doing that.
Even get to the point. It's even going to get to a point where these virtual encounters are going to replace actual encounters when it comes to basic intimacy between partners and stuff like that. And they showed you how to predictive programming with movies like was it Demolition Man?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just how I was going back earlier in the beginning of the show when Element X, his Mixo channel was talking about that. It's like they want to turn us into people who have no sex drive, who have no relationships, completely asexual, completely asocial. I mean, that's what they're trying to push us towards.
That's it. I'm going to answer Greg here real quick. No, Greg, it wasn't. It was not literally a gun. What they done was they used the court systems and the justice system to say, we subpoenaed you to court, you will sell, or we will take it from you, and we will give you what we feel like giving you, and if you deny that, we will still take it from you and put you in jail. Which you might as well say is at gunpoint. Because when you're subpoenaed and you're told that you will sell or else you're going to jail and there's no way out, you're going to prison if you don't sell, that is gunpoint. That's forcing somebody to sell something that don't belong to you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Greg, understand this. Government is enslavement. Government is nothing but mafia. Whether people
That
believe
really
it or
is. Like,
not, it's nothing but mafia.
go look at like places in Russia, man. Like, you don't see much difference between the government and the mafia. The only difference is the mafia, the government has official legal power, and mafia doesn't. That's about the only difference, bro. I mean, you know.
Yeah. It's just, it's sick and it's sad, but this is what we come down to. Corporations can roll into a town and they can force people to sell their homes and buy up entire neighborhoods the same way. They put you in court and they say, we're taking your house for development. We're giving you this much. And if you don't like it, tough shit. If you stay in your home, we will come in there and we will throw you out and put you in jail. And you're not going to stay in your home because we refuse to let you. Okay? And you never owned your home anyhow. That's one of the biggest Ponzi scams that I've watched, seen for all my life. It just pisses me right off. You believe you're buying a house and that house belongs to you. And the land it sits on is yours, that you own it. You will never own it. You're not allowed to own it. It can be taken from you at the whip of a string, just like that.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. They think they're buying and they're not. Because you're not allowed to
No,
own
they're
it.
not.
If you actually owned
Here
it, you wouldn't pay taxes on
Let
it
me
every
break
year.
this down. Let me break this down for you, right? This works on several fronts. One, you are a person. You are, the day you're born into this society, you're sold as a piece of property, right? There's no loan that's taken out on you.
That's correct.
That's sent off. Here in America, it's the Federal Reserve. Other countries that have similar kinds of systems where it's kind of done the same way, right? You're sold off as chattel, right? Now, okay, now couple with this, right? Any money system, we're just using the American money system here as an example, but it don't matter what money system you're in, what country you're in. Like, but we're using the American one. So, like, when they print a dollar, it costs them that dollar plus interest on that dollar. So all that money you use to buy stuff, you already owe back.
Yep.
So even if you become so-called self-sufficient with money that you owe them back, and also on top of the fact that if you're their property, anything you own, they own by default because they own you.
Well,
legally.
the other thing is this, Warren. The bankers said this. This came from the Rothschilds, okay? We own the money. We own the paper and ink that it was bought and printed on. We give you the right to borrow our money, borrow amongst your labor.
Exactly.
So you go out, you labor, you get a job, and you think you earned money. No, they gave you the right to borrow. And therefore, anything you bought outside of food and water with that there borrowed money is the property of the bankers.
One of the reasons why they took JFK out was because he spoke out against secret societies in his later years. Although that's questionable whether he did it for his own reasons or not. But two, he was also wanting to issue what would have been government debt-free money, i.e., greenbacks, which the government wasn't very happy about that. So.
Yes. Well, Pete Warren said something that was so correct, because when you were born, there's a number at the top of that birth certificate that they started putting out, because for many, 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 many hundreds of years, there was no such thing as a birth certificate. When they gave you the birth certificate, they put that number at the top of the birth certificate, which goes into the stock market, because your cattle, like Warren just told you. Okay? Now, if you took the number from your birth certificate and you took your social security number, you know what you have? You have the routing number and the account number to your bank account that belongs to them.
Yeah.
You are nothing but a piece of meat on a shelf in a store. They have a right to decide if you live, if you die, if you have a companion, if you don't have a companion, because we all sat back and let them do it.
Yeah, you know. Like I said, none of this stuff is happening by accident, man. That's the hardest thing to get across to people. It's like, look, I don't know how to get it through people's head. Like nothing in politics is happening by accident. Okay,
No.
none of these people who claim up to be the solution to the problem, you know, who are offering all these political solutions, they're not on your side, man. They're not there to help you. They're there to mislead you, to lead you astray.
That's right.
That's what they always do, man. Like the liberals get in office, people get pissed off with the liberals. They vote for conservatives. The conservatives get in office, and the conservatives start pulling shit. They get pissed off with the conservatives. They go back to the liberals. It's like a ping pong ball going back and forth. And it's like, I don't know when y'all are going to figure out, bro. The whole system is corrupt, and all these agents that come out online, all these people that are sponsored by this system that say they're there to help solve the problem, they're not there to help you, bro.
No. You know, you listen to Paul, you listen to agents like Paul Ehrlichman, Girls' Rights, Karen Stroud. For years now, you've been listening to these people. And anytime they talk about you change things, you got to call your local congressman. What they're really telling you is call the people who deliberately done to you and whine all you want. We don't care.
You know? I mean, if protesting did any good, I mean, let's look at this here. The majority of people in Europe protested against the implementation of the European Union. Did it do any good? No, it didn't, because the elites wanted to push you anyhow. They shoved it through anyhow. Yep. I'll give you another example. The NAFTA superhighway here in America, right? Majority of people in America were too asleep to even know what the fuck what it was about. And most people who knew enough about it, a lot of people were against it. They protested against it heavy. It didn't stop them from putting it through anyways.
No,
they don't give a fuck what you think.
The only thing you did was slow them down, and then they kept right on going.
I mean, think about this. How much do you think they care about your, quote, freedom of speech when they give you, quote, free speech zones, and you have to have a license to even practice your free speech there?
You gotta have your permission, you know. You can't even you can't even buy the lumber and add a room to your own house without getting permission from your owner.
So what good does it do to protest, man? It doesn't do fucking any good at all. They give you these fake tools to fight the system with, and they're not designed to work.
No, and they won't work.
You know, they tell you vote. Well, voting don't work because it's like voting between Hitler and Stalin, if you even had a choice anyways.
It is.
Okay? And they tell you protest. Well, protests don't work. What's left? You want to go create a violent revolution? Well, if you go get violent, they're going to use that as an excuse to take away more rights and public safety. So what options do you have? And that's another thing I run into, man. I don't know what the damn solution is at this point.
Unfortunately, Warren, I do think we're too far gone, and I don't think there's going to be a solution. As much as I would love to see people start pulling their heads out of their, you know what, start standing together. Even in the manosphere, you'd think with so many millions of men are living the exact same problems, that they would unite, come together, and fight back. Nope. Why do you think
they can figure out that the dating scene is rigged, but they can't wrap their mind around the fact that the government is rigged. The government is just as rigged, if not more so, than this fucking shitty ass dating scene.
Well, no, Trump was not a glitch in the New World Order's plans.
No, he wasn't.
Trump is only nothing but a puppet. He was deliberately put
Anybody that believes that shit is fucking stupid, bro. I'm getting so tired of all this goddamn alt-right and Trump sympathizer. That's the answer to everything. I mean, it's trendy, bro. It's fucking trendy. That's what it is. I mean, I understand being pissed off with the left. I understand being pissed off with the liberals. There's a bunch of trendy-ass fucking horseshit. Oh, dude, look at me. I can see for myself. I can think for myself. Because I'm just gonna follow the opposition that they give me to follow.
Well, you know, Warren, it's not the right and the left doesn't matter because it's all an act. It's fucking
exactly, man. Thank you.
It's all a fucking act, man. You might as well be watching TV. You might as well be in Hollywood. It's all a fucking scripted act. They get their orders from the same people. There is no right. There is no left. There never has been. Trump is not a good guy. Trump is Hillary Clinton's cousin. They are family.
Yeah, exactly. Trump was, Hillary Clinton was invited to be in the front row at Donald Trump's wedding. Donald Trump and Bill Clinton go golfing together, bro. They're close buddies, man. They've been close buddies for a long fucking time. In fact, fucking Donald Trump has donated like fucking what, millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation. I mean,
well, everything Warren said is correct. This is what people don't understand. That was nothing but a Hollywood act. Why do you think Trump ain't got no wall? He ain't never gonna have no wall. That was a fucking lie from day one. They want open borders. Oh, fucking goddamn, what you call George Soros goes over to Mexico and pays these immigrants that are low-life poverty a whole bunch of money and gets buses in there and buses them to the border, lets them out on the other side where you don't see it. They don't film it or show you it. And then they walk across the line with a pocket full of money from George Soros to destabilize your country.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. Let me tell you what his role is. He's put in power to sit here and collect all the angst and revelry of all these stupid social justice warriors, so they can pin all against him. Especially if he gets us involved with Iran. I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but I can see that happening. And then so that way, that'll be the final Republican president you'll have when the Democrats come back in next, and then. He'll play into that. You try to make the opposition look bad that way. We'll find what is officially, exoterically, a one-party system.
Yep. So you'll go right back to the other side. So you'll go right back to the same your owners. Your owners.
That's the word exoterically, because it's already a one-party system. It's just to give you an illusion of two parties.
Yes, like WWE. You have a fake bad guy and a fake good guy. Hollywood. We have movies where we kill actors all the time. And then the actor that was shot dead is in another movie because he's alive and well. Elliot Rodgers, an actor.
Yeah.
People just don't get it. You don't understand. You've had the blanket pulled over your face since the time you were born.
Dude, look at this, man. Donald Trump's daughter, whom he appointed via nepotism to lead his ethics committee, by the way, is an open and unabashed feminist.
Yes.
Okay? So when people come out like Donald Trump is the advocate of manosphere, really, so you mean to tell me the guy who's going to stand up for men appoints his feminist daughter to lead his ethics committee?
Yeah,
exactly. Explain this to me.
Well, yeah, explain it. It's like Chelsea Clinton. She's freaking the chairman of the board of the dating sign online on your phone. Think of that damn name again. Swipe it left. Ding, ding, ding. That dating app that people are using on their phone. Chelsea Clinton's at the top of that crap. What did we say the core of NWO is? The dating arena. I don't know how people don't get it when it's right in their face. It's just unreal.
Because then you get these conspiracy people too that everything from the type of toothpaste you use to the clothes you wear to the music you listen to, the way you wear your hair, everything else is socially conditioned by the machine. But that doesn't apply to the dating scene, which deals directly within the concept of eugenics, which is the core of all their goddamn beliefs. But somehow, magically, the dating scene is off limits. None of that applies to the dating. That's the one part of life that they haven't touched.
Exactly. And it's sad because there's so many people out there speaking up against the fraudulent, phony fucking false flags and speaking up on this and speaking up on that. I ain't touching the dating scene. No. There ain't nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly normal. And then they watch a video from TFL or something and say, oh, well, you're a misogynist. You're a woman hater. You're going to scare all the women off.
So wait a minute. If being in TFL wasn't such a big idea, then why are they so scared about scaring all the women off? Wait a minute. Is it because they don't want to be in our situation themselves? Maybe it is a big deal after all. It's just the reason they're saying it's not a big deal is because they're not the ones going through it.
That would be the real answer right there, Warren.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, you know, Warren, we've been up here about 2 hours, so I think we're going to go ahead and cut it. And I appreciate you being here. I really do.
Man, good talking to you.
And I know there's people here that love you being here, but I got to get on out of here. I got a couple things I got to get done before I go get my kids. So, with that being said, thank you, Warren. And hey, guys, don't worry, Warren will be back another day. Just don't know when yet.
Yeah.
And at that time, you all take care of yourself, and we'll have a good one.
You too.